Hello to all my American Horror Story historians. My name is EJ and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome to the delirious madness that is this place. We mostly cover American Horror Story. I like to cover other things, but no one wants to watch those videos. But truly, let's dive into American Horror Story now that we have some time to wait until the next season. For this video, we will be looking at each and every season and ranking them from worst to best. We are wasting no time in getting into the 12th spot on my list. In last place will be Double Feature. Double Feature is a season that we all know it's not a great season. I have nothing else to add to the discourse. It is two seasons jammed into one, filmed and throughout in the middle of the pandemic era. So this always has this weird bad taste in a lot of our mouths, especially for me because I liked Red Tide quite a bit up until I think one of the worst episodes in the entire series with Winter Kills as the final episode of that season. But overall, I really liked where we were going with Red Tide. It was gothy, it was Hollywood filled, there was vampires, it was bloody. It was really cool. The red pill, or the black pill, I was super into everything that they were offering, and then they quickly threw everything together in a bad mid-season finale so they can break it off into the next story, which was Death Valley, one of the worst seasons I've ever seen. Aliens, Mamie Eisenhower, Amelia Earhart. Oh my god, it's just so frustrating. This season lacks a oomph to it, a reason to exist. And I'm not saying I think this season should just go away forever and the people who worked on it are bad. No, but I just don't find that there's anything fulfilling here. If the black pills would show up later, if the vampires were anything like the vampires from Hotel, if the alien stuff felt like anything alien related that we saw in Asylum, all of these little small pieces could have connected it and maybe just got me through it being like, oh, this isn't a great season, but at least I have these X, Y, and Z reasons. But there is no reasons. It's a frustrating first half of a season, a disastrous second half of a season, waste potential for both stories. It's a frustrating mess. I don't know anyone who really likes this season, and it's hard because I want to be positive to American Horror Story. I love this show, but like the first 3 or 4 seasons we're going to be talking about are rough with a lot of not great moments, even though there is highlights for each and every season. Number 11 on my ranking is our most recent season, Delicate. Delicate is one of those seasons where I see the potential. There is so much here that could be good, that could be strong. The story of women and the story of fame versus motherhood. What comes first? Do you have to choose? All that's great. The witchy coven of this, I like that. Much like I wanted Double Feature to have some kind of thread that made me feel connected to the other seasons. The witch stuff here brought me back to Coven, brought me back to Apocalypse. Is it as strong as those seasons? Absolutely not. But I liked the witchiness here. That's what really got me through. Hell, I actually really love Kim Kardashian in this season. It's really fun. Emma Roberts as Alicia Alcott, or whatever her name is. I just already have wiped her from my mind. Miss Alcott over here. She was fine in this role, but she felt so passive. It felt like we just watched things happen to our lead character, and we never really got a fulfilling story. And then we get to that season finale that just rushes everything, and I truly think it is like one of the worst finales I've ever seen on American Horror Story. It is hard. Do I think this overall season is the worst? No, I think the blood and the gore are amazing, compelling. I think the story of the witchiness is really fun. And then they have the episode, my favorite episode of the season, Ava Hestia, which gave me so much hope. Once I saw Ava Hestia, I was just like, the second half of the season is great. We are in for it. And then it just kept getting worse. It just kept getting worse. Delicate's confusing to me because, again, the actresses are strong.
And you just stand there like,
I like not having the pure Ryan Murphy influence. I feel like we got different stories. We got a bit of a different flair for this season with a new showrunner. I think Delicate has pieces that makes it not hit that bottom spot for me. I know a lot of people absolutely do not like Delicate. The Kim Kardashian stuff was like, oh, too much. She was cunty. I'm sorry. She was exactly what I wanted. And overall, I liked the, Cara Deviglia. I liked some of the actors that we got on this season. I think it provided something. It gave me a little bit of entertainment throughout this year and the end of last year, beginning of this year. I can't say Delicate was a horrible ride. Do I ever want to rewatch this season again? Not at all, and that's why it places so close to the bottom. Coming in at number 10, let's introduce ourselves to The Cult. Cult is a season of American Horror Story that fell right after the 2016 election. It reeks of the tired liberal politics from this time. And again, I'm fairly a liberal person, but it was just so tiresome. The parody of what we felt like. A lot of the people were the Allie character, feeling like the world was going to be completely changed by Trump, and then she was mocked, and I even mocked the character. Now we're in 2024, and well, it's interesting, but sure, I just felt this season was so on the nose with its politics, with its feelings, that there was no sense of mystery, no sense of scare, no sense of being enthralled. I could literally just turn on the news and see exactly what this season was offering up, and I just don't like that. I want my American Horror Stories to be horrifying, to be scary, to be American, like, stories that we're getting through our pop culture lens, but this one, it just felt like I didn't need it. There was no point in the season. Much like how I feel about Double Feature, I literally felt everything here. We just saw it in society. We could have went on Twitter at that time period and seen every character from the Kai to the Alley just expressing themselves. So it didn't feel fresh or new or even needed. Do I think it's the worst season anymore? No, after kind of giving it a second glance, like the Midwestern Assassin episode is so hard hitting, so like breathtaking that I'm amazed by it. I think Leslie Grossman has been one of the best castings for this show since this like newer era. Completely underrated, completely overlooked in a lot of the American Horror Story fandom, and I love her in this episode. I love what this tries to say. I think this episode specifically captures the theme of cult the best. It just doesn't feel like the rest of the episodes are matching up to that. I hated the clown mask stuff. The only really amazing scene also is Sarah Paulson telling her wife, like, how's the spaghetti? You gonna get poisoned and die, bitch? That was truly one of the best scenes ever. Like, once Allie starts figuring out the cult, it gets a little bit better. But then we have the Valerie Solanas episode that is truly god-awful AHS stuff there. So, as much as I think there is some more positives here than I first thought, the negatives truly outweigh any of those positives when it comes to cult. For number 9 on our list, let's venture all the way to New York City with NYC. American Horror Story NYC is the 80s set season. It is the AIDS epidemic discussion season. This is a very important season. Do I like it? No, I really don't care about the mystery. I find it to be one, when they solve it all pretty early, I was just like, oh, so then that means Big Daddy is this. Like, I loved Gino's character. I mean, Joe Manganiello is just so powerful. His work with Russell Tovey here is really good. I like the little, the little killer that they had. What was it, the Mai Tai killer? I liked what they tried with this season. There is ideas that are really good here. It's a hard-hitting season, but it just doesn't have the horror that I particularly like. This reminds me a lot of Cult, where I'm like, oh, I know reality is hard and sad and scary. I don't want that in my American Horror Story. Give me witches, give me cults, give me like cults that aren't President Trump cults. Give me things like that. I want the hotel, I want vampires, I want witches, I want ghosts, I want things like that. So when we make, AIDS the villain of a season, yeah, it's not bad. This season's hard because if I critique it, I feel like I'm being disrespectful to the hard work and the stories that they were telling in this season. I mean, we got to see Fire Island depicted. We got to see this era of gay men that isn't often depicted in such a interesting light and such a horrific light, but sometimes in a positive light. Sometimes the season's fun and we get to see the trashy side of this time period. I love and respect NYC. It's much like Double Feature, or specifically Delicate, that I don't really want to rewatch it again. There's nothing that sucks me in. Even listing now, I had a list of episode names that was my favorite from each episode or each season. I don't really have one for this one. I just don't think this season has a compelling singular episode. It tells one whole big story. It's a big sweeping epic story, which is interesting, which is positive, which I don't hate it for it, but overall it just places near the bottom, but not completely bottom entry for me. Number 8 takes us all the way to people's favorite decade. We are going to American Horror Story 1984. Entering the era of American Horror Story where I'm like, oh, the show that I once loved is going away. American Horror Story 1984 is a solid season. I love 80s slashers. You can see Chucky back there. There's like Michael, Jason, Freddy over here. Like there's a bunch of stuff back there. 80s horror films are my thing. I love slasher films. So I love the root of this season. I think the Brooke story is great. We have another ghostly, we can't leave a area once we die here storyline. All of that is great. Richard Ramirez's character, really fun, really interesting. There is pieces here that I do find to be interesting, to be fun, like to find them fun and 80s slashery like I love. Mr. Jingles was really, really a fun kind of slasher killer, but then we learned more, again, Leslie Grossman coming in, being the best, newest cast member we've ever had since, like, Gaga joined in season 5. Like, it's truly, wow, she was made for this show.
This is how it has to be. I win. I am the final girl. I am always the final girl.
There is people, there is places, there's things that I like about this. Camp Redwood is a solid episode, is a solid season kickoff. Camp Redwood is a fun way to get us here. We're at the camp, we get a little bit of this, we meet our characters, and I just think the season just doesn't stick the landing as most of them do. Once like Finn Whitrock comes and near the end, you're like, what are we doing? What do we do? Oh, there's a Murder House reference. Like, there is pieces here that I'm like, oh, you're connected to the universe. It feels like post-apocalypse. Nothing wants to be connected to pre-apocalypse time. So I really do appreciate 1984 for trying. It's bloody, it's gory. I love the kill where they all get to kill Richard Ramirez. I like what this season has. It's just not one of my favorites. It's not one of my go-tos. I want to know, though, is this one of your favorites and go-tos? If you are a slasher fan, do you think 1984 lives up to the 80s slasher like ideology, the golden ticket that we give 80s horror films, or do you think 1984 is where it belongs on my list? Just a fine season. Number 7, we are heading to the woods once again. God, we're in the woods a lot for American Horror Story. Number 7 on my list is Roanoke. Roanoke is one of those seasons for me that often frustrates me. I've had the biggest journey with this as well. It used to rank very low on my list. Now it gets a below middle placement. Why? Because I like what this has to say. I like the dual stories. I like that it's the reenactments and then we do the reality show where everyone gets put into the house. I like the butcher character. I think Kathy Bates does some of her best work out of the entire show here. I can still hear Matt. I can still deal with the Matt and Shelby BS that we got from the season, especially when it's like the Sarah Paulson, Cuba Gooding Jr. side of it. Cuba Gooding Jr. is here. Yay. You didn't stick around in American Horror Story long, did you? Interesting. So yeah, again, this season, fine. I like the episode 6 is where I think the highlight for me, when we start shifting the story, when we get new things, and then again later on in the season when we get different perspectives, different type of TV. I think this is a love letter to modern television in a lot of ways, so I do appreciate Roanoke for that. Do I find myself compelled by the Matt and Shelby story? No. And then we get Flora there, and I'm like, oh my god, what are we doing with these characters? I do think I do think there's some good episodes here. I think Angela Bassett does fine. Adina Porter, she's kind of steals this whole season, though. This might be Adina Porter's best time in American Horror Story because she gets the biggest story, the biggest arc. That moment at the end where, Flora's looking at her and her mom, it's heartbreaking. It's hard-hitting. This season has more heart and soul than I remembered it having, so that's why it ranks where it does on this version of my ranking. In my most controversial pick, each and every time I do this, at number 6, we are going to Freak Show. I like Freak Show. Do I love Freak Show? No. In a personal ranking, I often don't find myself wanting to revisit Freak Show. It's the 1950s setting. It's the Dandy. I like Dandy as a character, but he doesn't really give me much on rewatches that I wish I did. Twisty the Clown, great, iconic character. Edward Mordrake, maybe not my favorite. I actually really like the two Edward Mordrake episodes. I think we get a lot of backstory. I think we get a lot of stuff. But the best episode of Freak Show is one of the best episodes of American Horror Story in general, and it's Orphans, where we get the Pepper backstory, a character we met in Asylum, who we got a little bit more of in this season. I really liked the Pepper episode. It connected to so much of Freak Show, but it still gave me a singular story, allowed me to focus on a very important character. I actually think Freak Show has aged better than a lot of the other older seasons. Like, I tried to rewatch Murder House recently, and while it ranks high for being iconic, it's higher than this one, it still just doesn't hit. I do think Freak Show has aged well. The cinematography is great. The costume designs are good. Bet and Dot are interesting characters from Sarah Paulson. Probably not my favorites out of her work on this show. And Jessica Lange in her big final here I am as the star of the show. Is it my send-off? Is she my favorite of the Jessica Lange characters? No, but overall I do think Freak Show stands the test of time in American Horror Story. Is it a personal favorite of mine? Not really, but I don't disrespect it. I don't hate it as much as I felt like I used to. I feel like when I used to do these rankings and I didn't place Freak Show high enough, people would be like so angry, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I was a little rude. I appreciate Freak Show. I like Freak Show. It's just not one of my personal cups of tea. Number 5 on my list is where it all began, Murder House. Oh, the Harmons. Could they be the most frustrating characters in American Horror Story history? Oh my goodness. Dermot McDermott, god-awful. Ben Harmon can go to hell. Oh my god. Violet. Yay! We have Thaisa in this season doing her big debut, and my goodness, I hate Violet Tate stuff. I'm not one of those people. I like Tate. I like Violet. Separately, the moment these two start doing the Romeo and Juliet story, my eyes just roll to the back of my head and I don't care. That episode, though, where we find out Violet has been dead, amazing. I think the season premiere, the series premiere, is strong, and I actually think this has a really interesting finale. I used to not like the finale of Murder House because I felt like, where are we going? Oh, the baby's live. What are we going to do with him, as she kind of says. And then we get the conclusion to that story years later with Apocalypse, and then I'm like, Murder House really does sit well. Is it, again, one of my personal favorites? I do think it's a bit slow. It's a bit drier than a lot of the other seasons. Even comparing it to Freak Show, which I placed right under this, Freak Show is bigger, bolder, bombastic, where Murder House is a bit simple, but that isn't always bad. I like the simplicity of Murder House. I like that it is a classic ghost story with what we would know as the American Horror Story twist, with serial killers and ghosts and things like that. I really think this season has a lasting quality to it. Do I find the Harmons to be the most annoying characters? Yes, truly I do, and I think that's what keeps me from ranking this so high. Constance Langdon is great. I love Dennis O'Hare's weird little burnt guy. I like a lot of the characters that are here that aren't our three main people, Tate, Ben, and Vivian, or, Violet, Ben, and Tate there too. Tate's kind of annoying. Evan Peters grown so much as an actor on this show. Yeah, this season is frustrating to me because, again, there's a lot of good elements here. I just find this to be the most frustrating group of characters out of any season. Get the medical gear ready. Let's go to the crazy house because we are looking at Asylum. Asylum. What can I say about this season? I could give you two names and it just stands out. Sister Jude, Lana Winters. My goodness, what amazing characters. This, to me, is the most wackadoo season. I hate the Anne Frank stuff. The alien stuff annoys me. But besides that, I think this has a lot. I mean, the Dr. Thredson stuff is really good. Watching the experiment stuff made by an old Nazi like doctor, interesting. There's a lot here that is compelling, that is a lot. This season is a lot at times, but that Nor'easter episode sticks out in my mind as so good. The Name Game, one of the most hard-hitting episodes I've ever seen. Watching Jessica Lange's acting here, like, she got to do some good acting in Murder House, and she'll do some great acting as the series goes along. Especially, I love her work. I love her work in, oh my God, we will talk about Coven in a little bit. But anyways, I really, really like Jessica Lange's work in this season. I think it's just incredible. She's a hard-hitting actress that I didn't really get to know from my generation, because she kind of shifted away from being like what she was in the 80s and 70s and early 90s. But by the time I got to see her in this season specifically, Jessica Lange was one of my favorite actresses ever. Like, she just is so good. The hard-hitting nature of this season, with Lana Winters uncovering the stories, getting stuck in there, and then eventually, getting assaulted, finding her way out, winning in the end, and then becoming a figure throughout the AHS universe. I think Lana Winters is honestly top 3, maybe even top 2 characters in all of American Horror Story. It's good, it's what I need, and I absolutely love what she does. I love this season overall. Again, I have my issues here or there. It's not the best, but it could work for people who aren't as singular-minded as what they want from American Horror Story. I often have my own little things, but I do think Asylum is one of the best made. Filmmaking, directing, editing, all of that comes together to make this one of the best seasons ever. Number 3 signals the end of the world. We have Apocalypse. Is my hottest take ever that I put Apocalypse above Murder House and Asylum? Possibly, but I absolutely love this season. It's fun, it's chaotic, it's big, it's bold. There are so many ideas, and I think most of them work. We tie in every season that we've had before, minus Freak Show, it feels like, but there's a little bit of Asylum, a little bit of Coven, a little bit of, a little bit of Hotel. There is so much Murder House, Return to Murder House, probably the best episode out of this entire season. My goodness, I love what Apocalypse does. And I often credit it as the Avengers Endgame of American Horror Story. And now, as we see Marvel hasn't been able to recover after Endgame, it feels like AHS has not been able to keep up with what Apocalypse did. This season is controversial for a lot of people. I know a lot of people don't like it, but for me, you cannot be an American Horror Story fan without loving what they did with Michael Langdon's character, without the Return to Murder House episode, with the Coven returning.
She needed the help of a powerful voodoo queen. But that ain't you, sis.
My goodness, I loved seeing Cordelia get to just be so powerful, so in her element. It's amazing. Seeing Jessica Lange's return as Constance Langdon, amazing. Billy Porter's on this season. Emma Roberts is so good. There is just so many great pieces, and one of my favorite things ever is Mallory. I love this character. Oh my goodness, Billy Lord gives so much in this season. I thought she was going to be the new, second coming for the show, and everything was going to be based around amazing Billy Lord's work, because she's so good in the season. Mallory is one of those characters. Her standoff with Michael Langdon multiple times throughout the season is great. I love Michael Langdon's character. I love when he starts murdering people. Amazing. With his little robot sidekick, great. I like the Satan influence here. I love the apocalypse stuff. We have the weird zombie people outside. We have robots. We have so much in this season. And while it is probably more jam-packed and more what the hell than Asylum is, with its little side stories and its weird motifs that it's doing, I cannot say that I can't hate Apocalypse. I think it really is everything I love about American Horror Story, all wrapped up into one bow, and it should have been the series finale. Everything else after this has been fine. I like 84. I've been praising some of the other seasons, but after Apocalypse, I just feel like American Horror Story gave me everything. This was the send-off. This was the restart of our universe. We got a fresher start, new Satan, new Antichrist on the way, and we never got that paid off. I thought that's what, Alcott's baby was going to be for Delicate, but surprise, maybe not. my goodness, but Apocalypse, it lives on in my brain as such a moment. It's also the first season that I covered on this channel fully, so I have a special place in my heart, but truly, I love Apocalypse. Rewatch it. If you have not in a while and you were one of those people who didn't like it, rewatch it, especially after like NYC, Delicate, and Double Feature. You'll come to appreciate this season a lot more than you originally did. We are almost done, and now in our second spot, we have Coven.
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Witches. Bitchcraft. Oh my goodness, Jessica Lange as Fiona. Do I need to say anything more? We could wrap it up. Done. Bam. But we get Madison Montgomery. We get Taissa. Actually, this might be my favorite Taissa character ever. I think she is so interesting in this thing. I think she got not the best ending out of all her characters. Kind of sucked. But I overall absolutely felt this season was so fun, so compelling. This was the shift. This was like, we liked, Murder House. We all really thought Asylum was well made. But the way Coven grabbed us as pop culture fans, we are still always waiting for Witches. Look at Delicate. We are still always waiting for the level of serve, the fashion, the music, the art. Do you remember the commercials, the promos leading up to the season? Everything about Coven feels like peak American Horror Story. Now, I have one season above this, but that's a personal ranking. Again, this is my personal feelings, but I just think Coven is everything we love as American Horror Story fans. It's a bit Satan-y. It's a bit witchy. It's a bit horror-filled. We have history. There's like Marie Laveau and Delphine. Like, we have these iconic characters. So we're giving us American history with our American horror. It's truly one of those seasons that I just think has so much lasting ability, so much amazing acting. Again, Angela Bassett, Kathy Bates, Jessica Lange, there was Sarah Paulson, Lily Rabe, there was just Stevie Nicks even for 2 seconds. This is such a episode, such a season, such a moment in time for us. I think Bitchcraft is one of the best premieres we've ever had. I think this is truly that moment for AHS where I said, we are never going back. This is going to be our life-changing moment. And am I right? This season really did change all of our lives forever. And number 1 on my list, we are finally here. Let's get ready to check into the hotel. I truly thought my hottest take was going to be putting Asylum and Freak Show where I did, but my goodness, every time I give Hotel the top spot on one of my rankings, y'all freak out. First and foremost, this is a personal ranking. These are just my favorites, and Hotel is one of my absolute favorites. We have Liz Taylor, the Countess, the serial killer story. I absolutely love the little the dinner party with all the serial killers. Such a fun episode. I love the vampire vibe of this. I think Hotel really works because it's a bit self-contained, a lot like Murder House, where it isn't something that we have to have so much knowledge about. Yeah, we do visit Murder House, and we come back to this with Apocalypse, and we have some small Coven connection, but you don't really need a lot of extra baggage to enter the season. Do you like 80s high fashion, horror films, maybe like The Hunger? Do you like, David Lynch movies, maybe a little bit of like a high fashion kind of vibe? There is so much here that is just so fun, so compelling, so interesting. And yes, I'm a Lady Gaga fan. I have the same tattoo as she does. I'm sure that could be a bit of a bias here. And this was the first season without Jessica Lange in a main spot, so it was hard to watch at times, but I really feel like this was a fun season. It's, for me, this is what I want for American Horror Story. It is American based. It is pure horror, like the vampire stuff, the getting stuck into the hotel. I love the seasons, much like 1984 Murder House, and with Hotel, I love a season of American Horror Story. When you die somewhere, you're stuck there. I think it's great. I really love Sarah Paulson in this season, just smoking, being angry with that frizzy hair. Oh my goodness, there's so many episodes in this that are fun, that are easy to watch. I don't think Hotel has the cultural impact of a Coven, or doesn't last in our hearts like something like Murder House, but I think Hotel is a easy rewatch. I think it's strong, it's contained. You get a serial killer story, you get the vampire story, and then they interconnect. I always forget how well these two stories by the end of the season kind of just go bloop, and then everything fits together in its weird little piece. I thought this season has what it takes to be one of the best. I watch it a lot. This is the easiest one I can throw on and just watch Hotel. Maybe that's why it ranks so high, because I've rewatched this like a bazillion and 10 times. I can't say anything else about Hotel other than I absolutely love it. It's high fashion, it's bloody, it's campy. People like their American Horror Story hard-hitting and brutal, like something like Asylum. I like my American Horror Story campy, over the top. That's why I like Delicate, as much as I like Delicate. That's why I like this season as much as I do. I want it campy, fun, bloody, high fashion, glamorous, over the top. That's what I want from my American Horror Story, and Hotel is exactly that. I have been recording this video for like 40 minutes. I have no idea what it's going to come down to in the edit, but my goodness, I love talking about American Horror Story with you all, but I'm going to wrap it up for the day. What did you guys think of my ranking? Do you agree with my ranking? I know Hotel at that top spot's always controversial, but this is my personal favorites from my worst to best. So I want to know your worst to best. Let me know in the comments. Which episodes did you like from each season? What was your favorite episode? What's your favorite season altogether? Share those thoughts down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy, and if you want any other American Horror Story focused content, if you want me to break down favorite characters, favorite episodes, least favorite episodes, stuff like that, share those thoughts down in the comments as well. I will do more American Horror Story stuff. I love doing videos for you guys, but you guys don't really want to turn in when I do Nip Tuck or something else. I do have another channel, Flickering Myth. Go check that out as well. You can see a video up there. I have a video up there with like 40,000 views. Truly, go watch what I'm doing over at Flickering Myth. Some fun stuff's happening there. Thank you guys. Let me know your American Horror Story feelings, and let's talk about it right down below.